76% of our $1 million studios are at record revenue right now as we record this episode. There is no special skills that they have. They just do the right things at the right time, the right way, until they see it working.
All right, let's roll into our episode. So much to talk about. We're also in our new podcast studio. You guys will see that on YouTube or through the reels as they come through.
Yep.
We're absolutely pumped to be here. Soph.
Cannot wait. I'm just going to roll in and start off with some of the things that are happening in the academy at the moment because there is so much. I know we say that every time, but honestly, right now is money-making season for gyms and wellness studios as we head into, the holiday season. So Christmas, summer/winter, depending on where you are in the world. And people are thinking about buying memberships now. They're thinking about where they want to be by the end of the year, the resolutions that they didn't quite hit yet.
Yeah.
And if not that, then they are starting to get their wallet out and start spending because we've got all of the sales season with Black Friday upon us coming soon, click frenzy, all of those kinds of things. So people are kind of in that buying mindset and our studios are killing it. So we call it gain season within the academy.
Yep.
And what that's allowed for our studios to do is actually 76% of our $1 million studios are at record revenue right now as we record this episode.
76%.
76% of the studios that work with us. So not just they've grown, but are at record revenues. They've never had this number of members or revenue in their business before.
Is there a correlation between results and like their concept or the logos?
Nothing. Nope. It's about their operations, their process, the owner themselves.
The owner themselves.
And a huge thing, which I think we'll delve into later, is their standards, their personal and professional standards, and what they're not doing.
Ooh.
We'll get into that. What about you? What's going on in your world?
Mate, I've been really, really enjoying working a lot with different HQs. We, thrilled and grateful to have had a couple of invites into the boardrooms of different HQs and talk about, what I love about it, actually, when we sit there and we look at our vision book for Geronimo as a company, as part of our purpose, we want to kind of lift the standard of the health and fitness industry to get it, off its knees onto its feet and really, push the boundaries and pioneer a better way of owning a fitness studio or a wellness studio. And it's been great working with individual owners, but I think right now when we get into HQs, we're able to make an even bigger impact, network-wide impact, and that's what I'm loving. That's what I'm loving at the moment. What I'm also loving as well is we come from the F45 network a long time ago now where, this is completely unfiltered, I don't think anyone's listening, is bashing HQ might have been a bit of a sport, right? But the good owners know, and the ones that are still the good owners know that actually we've got to take responsibility ourselves. HQ's not coming to save us. We've got to take responsibility ourselves. And that's not a slight on HQ. I actually, what's cool about this new generation of HQs and this, meeting with all the CEOs is that they actually give a fuck about their network now.
Yeah.
Which is really cool. So they're actually trying to be on the right side of this. I think what's interesting though, as we're seeing, is I think there is a healthier relationship between HQs and networks where everyone's clear on their jobs and everyone's focusing on their jobs.
Yeah, I think there's an art to getting that balance right, not stepping in too much to save someone, but also not leaving them to their own devices to fail too much.
Totally. I think, HQs that are doing really well are really sticking to what their job is, which is to achieve critical mass, to push the boundaries of the brand, to get the brand out there, expand the network, to advance, strategic partnerships and blah, blah, blah. But it's not their job to make sure that at the share level they've called their fucking leads.
Yeah.
The studio needs to take responsibility for their own business and do what it takes to, it's not HQ's responsibility to make sure, Studio X gets their, business activity statement back online or submitted in time. So I think that's been really cool to see how the new networks are operating.
Yeah.
And the new generation of HQs actually giving a fuck about their network. And they bring us in to I guess, fill the gap. There's a bit of a gap that is appearing between HQs and the studios.
Yeah.
In terms of not between each other, but like the performance side of things, which is, I guess, why we get the phone calls to come in and to improve the performance of the individual studios and therefore the entire network, which I'm loving.
Yeah,
I'm fucking loving.
So good.
What else, mate? What's been tearing you off?
Is this the episode where we're just going to go off?
Hey, fuck. It's unfiltered.
Well, yeah. Yesterday we were having a conversation about, actually, and you said a quote just before around excellence. Do you want to repeat that?
Excellence atrophies in the opposite direction of excellence.
Yeah. So pause that and just have a think about it. It makes sense if
What
you
the
break
fuck did
that
the bald guy
down.
just say? Yeah.
Bit of gibberish.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think at the moment what I am seeing is that the people that are in the 76%, there is nothing special about them. There is no special skills that they have. There is no personality trait that they have. There is no fitness level that they're at. There's nothing like that. Their concept doesn't have special magic tricks. Like, it is just that they nail the basics. We say this so much, so I sound like a broken record. But until you execute and see it work, I'm going to repeat it for anyone who hasn't kind of got there yet. But they just do the right things at the right time, the right way for an ungodly amount of time until they see it working. I have so many examples of even people who just like get distracted for fun, finally shift that identity, stick to a freaking plan, and now they're getting incredible results. And that's what this 76% of people have done. I think a lot of the time there's this misconception that they must be like really established business people or they're just different. They're not.
No.
They just don't lie to themselves about the execution of the things they know they should be doing.
Right. What's an example?
I think the difference is something that it used to come across pretty strong from you.
Ooh.
But when you say, like, I do not care about you trying your best, I care about you getting an outcome. You can try and shy away from that as much as you like, but the truth is, like, that's what's going to make you feel like a winner.
Well, like, that is the difference between high performers and everyone else.
Right. So Kylie Ryan said it in her episode as well. Like, there is so much truth to that. And I think there are a lot of owners out there who can kind of feel helpless onto themselves that they're like, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, and I'm this and I'm that, and I'm everywhere. Like, don't be a victim to your own circumstance when you do have resources around you and you are an intelligent person, because you've got the business one way or another. So if there's anything you can take from what we're talking about right now in this episode, it's like, just try. Go all in on the shit that you know you should be doing. And it's nothing crazy. It's being disciplined enough to go, yes, I will do that extra follow-up. Yes, I will have that extra 5 minutes to just formulate what my value is in this text to a newbie. Yes, I will pick someone up on feedback that I need to give them. No, I won't wait until I'm absolutely bleeding to fire someone who really should have gone 3 months ago.
Yeah.
Or no, I won't just like abdicate responsibility of something that I know isn't working and just think that I'll get to it because I've got other things to deal with. I think a lot of the time people who aren't doing well will resort back to things that they feel comfort in just to get a little bit of a kick, a little bit of productivity. You know, like they send an email, they go, yay, and then they get on their phone to reward themselves with a bit of a dopamine hit.
Right.
Rather than like strapping in and really, even if they're shit at it, just applying themselves to what they know needs to be done, like getting the sales call that they've been avoiding or finally facing the numbers that they haven't wanted to because they had their head in the sand. Any of those kinds of behaviors where like everyone does it. It's human behavior to like avoid the discomfort of doing that. But the truth is you have to do what you need to do or you have to suffer the consequences of not. You can't cheat your way out of getting results thinking that I'll just get around to it or I'll just this or I'll just that. So go.
No, and the 76%, they had to go through that
Correct.
learning pit. They had to go through that. I don't know what I don't know into like I know I'm shit at this.
Yeah.
And then like get in the pit and fucking figure it out until they pop through the other side and got an outcome. And that's the difference, right? It's that input versus output. Where the sort of rookies stop or where the brokies stop is where they go, I tried, but they haven't received an outcome yet. And they throw their hands up and that, you know, often what we hear from the, 24% is it's someone else's fault or it's the economy or it's the government or it's the something else versus just doing it for long enough that you've finally learned how to break through the other side and master that skill and you achieved the outcome.
Yeah. It's like I spent so much time on it and I tried, but it's like, yeah, but you still didn't get the result. And sometimes when we go a layer back underneath that, what we find is that actually you probably executed at about 40% of your actual, like what's required and said it was done. There might be a ton of different reasons for that, but that's the truth of like, I'm always asking myself, where have I just done the bare minimum here and I'm expecting an outstanding result? Just get honest with yourself.
So what's your message to our dear listeners and even our clients are listening to this? We want to get around them, we want to empower them and we want to educate them, okay? So what is the message here?
Yeah, look, if you're listening to this, you aren't necessarily going to be someone who is what we've internally kind of coined as like displaying brokey behavior.
And what is Brokie behaviour? Just fucking go for it, Soph. Go.
I will tell you, but I want to say, like, if you're listening to this, it's because you're already at a certain point or you want to be and you're just missing a bit of the how. Like, your message here is like, go all in, stop lying to yourself about where you are or aren't putting in the work that you need to, where aren't you achieving the outcomes that you need to, and then problem solve. But there is such a difference between the people that I work with who win and the ones who stay broke.
And what's the difference?
The first thing is who they are and how they show up. So are you a victim or are you a hero in your own story? The hero is empowered. We've spoken about this before. They are empowered. They never seek to blame. They never panic and throw their hands in the air and show that they actually have zero confidence in the plan that they've set for themselves. Versus Brokie behaviour is asking for help and then getting it, but then 2 days later panicking and throwing your hands up again and blaming someone else. It's showing up with zero energy, zero attitude to grow, and it's all too hard and it's this and it's that. I had a conversation with someone the other day who reckons that the gym near them that shut down because there wasn't enough car parking in the area. So how far does that get you? Now you're shut. You know, like if you believe that narrative, now you've almost just become a part of the problem and you've become a victim to your circumstance rather than figuring out how to make that work for you. Or if you were to take radical responsibility for that and go, well, it's all my fault and what am I going to do about it? Like, where have you contributed to your business failing? And how could you work your way out of that then? So the more that someone takes ownership for their situation, the more that they have control to change it. Like, it feels so much more powerful for someone to come from a standpoint of, I'm going to do what it takes. I am not going to try and like cheat my way out of this. I'm going to execute to the best of my ability. I'm going to do the extra reps when no one's looking, and I will rise to the occasion, to the challenge, rather than shrinking to my circumstance. That's the first thing.
Wow. What else?
More tactically, a rich studio owner who is successful and at record revenue will know their numbers without you even having to ask. We say this on pretty much every episode I'm on. I'm a broken record. Don't be a hypocrite and ask your members to track their macros if you don't know your business numbers.
Fuck. Solid.
They know them and they almost have a formulaic business. They know that their numbers don't lie, and as soon as something's off, they can tell, not because they feel a certain way about the car park, but because their sales conversion dipped a little bit and they're going to go and investigate. That is so much more empowering than sitting there going, well, why me and what's going on with my business? I have no idea. It's too hard. Narrative.
It's
broke.
The cost of living crisis.
Exactly. Whereas a broke studio will put their head in the sand and avoid at all costs. Again, Brokie behavior is wondering where all of my members have gone and counting cancellations without actually doing anything about it.
Oh, give me more about that one. Just go.
I don't think I've had one good experience cancelling a gym membership in my life. And I know that I have a higher standard, and so I should. If you're complaining about your business and you're not doing the stuff that we put in like 2 episodes ago around churn, then you need to get on that and like do something about it. But every time I've gone to cancel a membership, it's either been met with either no reply, that's the only time they actually start to care, or, oh yeah, the writing was on the wall, I was expecting that one. Well, why the fuck didn't you do anything about it? But then you'll go and complain that it's the cost of living crisis and no one's staying around and my churn's super high. But this is what I'm saying when I'm talking about bare minimum, outstanding result. It's not like a congruent equation. So if you're being honest with yourself, there are probably multiple things that you could be doing right now, today, that would put you in a better position without any new information coming across your desk.
You know, what I want you guys to grab from this and what Soph's saying is obviously we've got a high standard for our academy and the people that are in our academy. And the reason why is because the market has shifted. The sophistication of the market has definitely shifted. Your members know a lot more about what they're looking for and what they want out of your gym. And if you're not able to meet that demand, like, guys, we can't, a few years ago, you didn't have to be great and you'd still do pretty well. Now in 2024, and like the rise of the mixed modality stuff and, high rocks and people actually looking for performance and actually asking questions about your programming. And that's the market actually. And it happens in every market. The sophistication of the consumer changes and like evolves. You look at how you consume different things now, whether it be, how you interact with your technology or your phone or how much you want to get out of your phone. It's the same thing with your gym membership. So the market is shifting. If you're not able to not just keep up, but actually stay ahead, you're not actually providing any future for your members. And that's why they're going to leave.
Or your team or yourself. I'll just say as well on that, like Brokie behavior would be, it's just a bit hard these days. The market's so saturated.
Bullshit.
It's like all of this, it's all of that. A rich studio will go, I need to raise my standards.
Great. Love.
Again, like a broke studio has zero culture of selling. A rich studio owner or business owner will do whatever the fuck it takes because it's how they've been raised. An example of this is a broke studio will say, it's school holiday, so I didn't get around to calling the 100 leads that dropped in. A business owner who is rich and successful, we were coming back from the Gold Coast the other day and it was a Sunday after doing some studio openings, looking at some event spaces, and Dozer had someone on Instagram chat who was nibbling. Not only did he reply and respond while we were lining up to not get let on the plane, that's a different story.
Oh my God, different story.
Don't get us started. But then once we did finally get on the plane, he was on the phone to this person while on the fucking tarmac.
Yeah, well.
He didn't have to do that. It's not because he had to, it's because he could, and it's because it's our culture.
Yeah, I mean, like I've got a sales team and I didn't need to give this guy a buzz, but we're sitting there waiting for fucking everyone to load their bags. And I thought, I might as well just give this guy a call. And I knew he needed help and I felt for him because I've been in this position before. He dropped his mobile number and I was like, fucking, I'll just ring him. And I rang him. And then we chatted. We sold him the next day.
Broke owner would say that that's toxic and it's not showing balance because like I shouldn't have to do that. Rich studio will just call the fucking leads.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And another example of this is, again, like it's always so curious to me, I suppose, like same environment, same information, same coaching team, same everything, very different results, 76% record revenue. And then not everyone who's not growing is like a brokie. They're also on the way to their record revenue.
Oh, and sometimes the ones at 76%, sometimes, and I love you guys, I love you guys. Sometimes they display brokie behaviour.
Yeah.
But the good news is like they would admit it and they've grown since then.
Yeah. And I suppose like in this episode, if that's you, then this is your opportunity to course correct a little bit or even just bring awareness to it, because as soon as you notice like, oh, I'm being a victim here, like let me get back to hero, or, oh, I'll just like leave my numbers for another day. No. Again, you can choose to do that and cheat yourself out of it, but then you are choosing to put up with the consequences of not being where you want to be. I don't care what you have to say about that. Like, that is the truth.
Yeah. And I think if you want a bit more juice around that, go back to the Ash episode where we had a chat with Ash around all of that. And we got lots of great feedback from that episode because I just think, a lot of people felt seen and heard and probably a little bit called out from that episode in a good way. I was at a cafe. I was at Ham at Cronulla, and there was a table next to me, and they were kind of looking across, and I thought, have I done something here, or I've got bloody
Probably.
fly? Have I got my fly undone? And then they finished the bill, and as they were leaving, they said, "We listened to that podcast with Ash."
What? You didn't tell me this.
And then like one of the ladies said, "Oh, I thought she was talking about me."
Who was this person?
I don't know.
Just a random.
Just a random.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, if you're listening to this, shout out to you.
Yeah. And she was kind of relating it to like, why she's single, like, and all that sort of stuff. So like, I want to sort of lift the audience up. So how do we give them a bit of a fucking bum tap?
Well, we're bringing you in. Like, this is a group huddle, group hug, and a bum tap. But like the decision for you is to notice when you are not living in alignment or you're not displaying the behaviors that are going to make you rich, if that's what you truly want. So maybe something tactical that you could do is create a bit of a no list. Like, what are you not going to do? I'm not going to mindlessly scroll. I'm not going to go on my phone straight away after I wake up. I'm not going to not call that last lead when I know I should. I'm not going to wait a day to do my numbers. I'm not going to brush off the fact that there's something wrong in the session that I'm not going to give feedback on. What else?
Yeah. Well, I think the biggest thing in terms of raising your standards professionally is it starts personally.
Totally.
100% say do. There is if you listen to Dr. Huberman and all his kind of stuff, there is a bit in the brain that fires when you said you're going to do something and then you actually did it. And you do that for long enough. You've watched my Instagram, like Separation Sunday, every single Sunday I post about it. And the difference between the studio owners that do it every single Sunday or those that tried it once, it got a little bit harder and they stopped. It's in those moments where James Clear talks about, when he talks about atomic habits and building new habits, is you can skip once, but when you skip twice, you've started a new habit, which is back to that original quote of excellence atrophies, which means it dies in the opposite direction of excellence so fast. If you don't hold yourself to your own personal standards outside of work, to then bring it inside of work and then be in alignment with yourself when you do hold your team to a certain standard.
Yeah.
Or you do hold your practices to a certain standard, it's because they know that you also hold yourself to a standard. That's the biggest difference, I think.
Yeah. I almost want to create like the Brokies as a little bit of an enemy for us, for you guys listening, because like, fuck the Brokies. Like, don't do that.
That's aggressive.
Don't do that.
Yeah.
You guys
are... That's getting a bit
It's this
wild.
microphone.
Yeah.
You guys are better than that. You guys have people that you need to save out there in the community. I was on a call today and there's this one bloke in Canada over there who has 60 pounds to lose and his daughter is worried about his health, and that's the reason he's at this studio. Those are the people that I am telling you to do this for.
You know what? That's a really good point. I know we're talking to studio owners through this microphone here, but studio owners, guys, like there has never been a more important time for you guys to run a successful business so that you can stay open and make the biggest impact you can. And the reason why is because the new study out of The Guardian in the UK, 75%, 3 out of 4 people have a gym membership or a studio membership because of mental health. It is a rising problem out there, the rise of the kind of, mental health epidemic. So, team, the world needs you now. It used to be about recreation. Now it's about mental health. Like it used to be about vanity and now it's about sanity. The world needs you. Stay open. Do a better job. Choose Richies, not Brokies. And fuck, you're almost there. Now, Soph, before we finish this episode.
Yes.
Question for you. If we're at 76% now.
Yep.
How do we get to 86% with our academy?
Well, the people who are listening, it comes down to them. Like, it's the same thing as the members in their studios who have the workouts pre-written for them and the facility open at a certain time and the support there. But ultimately that person needs to come in and lift the weights so they can get stronger. They need to watch what they say to themselves, as that's going to dictate how much they can win.
Yeah.
They need to take responsibility for what they are telling themselves or like what they are contributing to in terms of their reality. Is it something that you're feeling proud of and you're moving in the right direction, or is it something that you're moving away from excellence with? So people have a misconception that they can let the little things slip, but I think that the people who are at record revenue and are continuing to go that direction, they don't do that. They don't let things slip. They don't tell themselves it's okay. They don't let themselves off the hook. And in every single instance of them doing that, they are reinforcing to themselves that the reason why their business needs to grow and why they are doing this is more important than them being lazy or feeling discomfort or whatever it is that they might be telling themselves. And I think the more you can do that, the more you lift your personal standard, the more you lift your business standard, the more you will enjoy winning and having a result that you can feel really proud of.
So if I've listened to this episode and I feel like I've been called out a little bit in a tough love way, I've pulled over and I want to do a self-audit because I'm sick of being in this situation and I actually do want to change my situation. I'm not trying to have Brokie behavior. It's just, the behavior that's been learnt, or maybe it's the behavior that is something that I'm used to. It is the cultural norm amongst my people that I associate with because maybe I'm in some Facebook groups. Or is the common language out there the frequency that I've tuned into? I don't know how I got here, but accidentally. And I want to tune into a different frequency, the not non-Brokie, the Richie frequency. What do I need to do?
Firstly, I actually do want to say there's one thing that isn't your fault, and it is how you're wired. Oh. But once you're aware that you're doing something that's not serving you, now it's your responsibility. You need to take ownership if you really want to change. And the body doesn't like it. So it's not going to be easy as soon as you decide, but that would be the first step. What are you going to do about it? So I'll tell you exactly what to do, but I think the purpose of this episode is to show you there is hope and there is so much life out there. If you're in this industry and you're telling yourself this story that people aren't winning, 76% record revenue. And there's so many people out there who need what you do really, really well. So my advice here would be pull over, notes app out, whatever you're using. And I would go back through this episode and I would anytime you feel like, oh, shit, that was spicy, that called me out, write it down. Anything that you agreed with because it annoys you too, write that down and then audit yourself and see how much you actually do it. or anything that you know that you're not currently doing at your maximum capacity, then it's about self-auditing. What do I need to do next time? And then do that more times than not and review it. Self-awareness is important, but then also making sure you're maintaining the behaviors that you said you wanted to with reflection. So every 30 days or something like that, you're actually coming back to this and watch what happens with your numbers if you can do that really, really well. So where are you displaying brokey behavior? List it and then notice when you're doing it and choose not to, then review.
And I think one of the most powerful things you can do also is to change your environment. And I don't necessarily mean like move out of your house. I mean who you associate with the most. It is much easier to adopt a better behavior if you're around people that have that behavior already. So that's why when people come into our community and every single time we meet, everyone posts their wins in the school group, and you just see all these wins after, and it's like an avalanche. It just tips off, and then everyone keeps going avalanche, 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 and sharing the wins, sharing the wins, sharing the wins. And even reading other people's wins fires you up to go out there and get more, and it just starts this snowball effect. And that's what I'm really proud of with our community. There's that winning spirit, that winning feeling.
Yeah. The number one driver of our people is usually service and helping others. So if in the moment when you're trying to choose between being a brokey or a rich studio, you need to rely on something other than yourself, make it less about you and more about service, then yeah, if you complete that behavior, even if it feels uncomfortable and it helps at least one person, then it was worth it.
Yeah. All right. So let's wrap this episode up. One last kind of like to sum it all up for our audience.
We know that because you're listening to this, you want to win, and we believe in you so incredibly much. So the spiciness that you're feeling, most people love it. But if anything in this episode you felt like you resonated to and needed to hear, definitely do something with it. There is no point in going and binging a whole bunch of different episodes or different podcasts or YouTube videos or whatever if you don't do something with the information that you're hearing. So listen to this as many times as you need, but please, you are so much more than what you're probably doing right now, even if you're doing amazing. And part of what we do is believing in others more than they can believe in themselves. So go out there and live up to your potential. Help the people that you want to help. There is nothing holding you back except you.
And call the fucking leads. All right. Love you guys. Bye.